Good morning, everyone. Okay, so I'm just starting up my Facebook. Okay, so I'm live now. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining me on the planet. My name is June Allen, and I am the founder of the Art of Greatness at juneallen.net. So I'm a therapist, I'm a coach, I'm a recovery coach. What else am I? I'm a consultant. And I work predominantly with black women, and my specialist area of expertise is racial trauma, recovery, and also I work with a lot of black women around healing the mother wound. So it's good to be back. It's good to see you today after all of the events of yesterday. And today I want to talk to you about this book. Okay, I want to talk to you about this book. So, as you know, for those of you that don't know, I am going to be launching a study, the next study circle, which is going to be happening in October. And I've selected 4 books, okay, for you to choose from. And last week I did The Black Woman Millionaire, and today I'm going to be doing this book. So basically I'm just going to be reading a few passages from it, just to give you a little bit of a flavour as to what it's about, if you'd like to study it with me. And then you can go onto my website and you can actually choose the book that you decide that that you think that you would like to study with me. And then obviously we'll take that book forward and use it in the study selection when it actually opens in October. So if you want to find out any information about the book club or working with me one-on-one or anything else about what I do, you can click the link in my bio. You can go to heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. If you know anyone that might be interested in anything that I'm sharing as well, you can please share it with them. If you've got any questions about anything that I share today, you can drop them in the comments, or you can send me an email, info@yardofgreatness.com. And also you need to remember that everything that I share today is for information purposes only, and it's not a substitute for therapy. Okay, great. So today I'm going to be talking about this book. Okay, it's called The Body Is Not an Apology: The Power of Radical Self-Love by Sonya Renee Taylor. Okay, so basically, I chose this book because a lot of the topics that sometimes come up in when I'm working with clients is around body shame. How do they feel about their bodies? How do we feel about our bodies as black women? And quite often, many of us are disconnected from our bodies, okay, because of it might be stuff that's happened in our past. It could be society trying to tell us who we are, who we should be or not be. A lot of times, the system also over-sexualizes us. So we have a kind of complex relationship with our body depending on what's going on for us. So I thought that this book would be a really good opportunity to kind of explore some of that and do some work around how we feel around our bodies. So what I'm going to do is I've read, the first couple of chapters, and I just wanted to highlight and share with you some of the stuff that I really liked about this book. And then, as I said before, you get to choose, you have the opportunity to choose if you want to choose this book as part of our next study circle in October. Okay, so so let's read. Let's see some of the bits that I've underlined. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so the first bit that really picked up my interest was in the prologue. Okay, so it says, I wound up in conversation with my teammate Natasha, an early 30-something living with cerebral palsy, and fearful she might be pregnant. Natasha told me how her potential pregnancy was most assuredly by a guy who was just an occasional fling. All of life was up in the air for Natasha, but she was abundantly clear that she had no desire to have a baby, and not by this person. One of my career iterations of the past was as a sexual health and public health service provider. This background made me notorious for asking people about their safer sex practices, handing out condoms, and offering sexual health harm reduction strategies. Instinctively, I asked Natasha why she had chosen not to use a condom with this casual sexual partner with whom she had no interest in procreating. Neither Natasha nor I knew that my honest question and her honest answer would be the catalyst for a movement. Natasha told me her truth. My disability makes sex hard already, with positioning and stuff. I just didn't feel like it was okay to make a big deal out of using condoms. When we hear someone's truth, it strikes some deep part of our humanity, our own hidden shames. It can be easy to recoil into silence. We struggle to hold the truth of others because we have so rarely had the experience of having our own truths held. Ooh, so reading that, it kind of made me feel really sad initially, because thinking about this woman who's got cerebral palsy, she's already got challenges around her body already. And then, often, we don't always think about people with these issues as being sexual beings, but they are sexual beings, obviously. We're all sexual beings. And her having to abandon herself in this way in order to, give herself the right to experience pleasure, it kind of made me feel, it just made me feel sad that she felt that she had to do this, that she had to abandon herself in order to have, to have sex part of her life, so it just made me feel sad reading that. She goes on to say that social researcher and expert on vulnerability and shame, Brené Brown, says, if we can share our story with someone who responds with empathy and understanding, shame can't survive. I was transported to all the times I had given away my body in penance. Okay, I'm going to read that again. I was transported to all the times I had given away my own body in penance. A reel of memories scrolled through my mind of all the ways I told the world I was sorry for having this body, a bad body. Okay, think about that for yourself. How many times have you betrayed yourself and given away your body to somebody that you didn't really like, or somebody that you just did it because you were trying to connect with them, or in a way that wasn't healthy? You were doing it because they wanted it and not because you wanted to do it. How many times have you betrayed yourself trying to connect with somebody because of what they wanted and not what you wanted? Okay, think about the many times that you may have done that. Okay, I know that I've done that. I know that there's been times where I've, got intimate with people and not really thought about it, didn't really know them that well. And when I think about it now, it was a form of self-betrayal. It was a form of self-betrayal for sure. She also goes on to say, it was from this deep cave of mutual vulnerability that the words spilled from me. Natasha, your body is not an apology. It's not something you give to someone. It's not something you give to someone to say sorry for my disability. She began to weep, and for several minutes I just held my maybe pregnant friend as she contemplated the fullness of what those words meant for her life and her body. There are times when our unflinching honesty, vulnerability and empathy will create a transformative portal in opening to create a completely new way of living. Such a portal was created between Natasha and me that evening in Tennessee, because as the words escaped my lips, some part of them remained stuck inside of me. The words I said to Natasha in that hotel room were as much for me as they were for her. I was also telling myself, Sonya, your body is not an apology. So think about that. Think about, hi Miss Beanie, thanks for joining. Think about the many times where you have abandoned your body, where you've neglected your body, where you've neglected yourself, trying to do stuff for other people. And how has that made you feel? How has that made you feel? What was the consequences of you doing that? Did you end up feeling worse about yourself? Did you end up, did it get you what you wanted from the other person? Oftentimes in those sort of situations, you may find that although you might have, there's part of you that might have felt okay about getting what you need from the other person, that self-betrayal is something that's not sustainable. Okay? That self-betrayal is something that's not sustainable, and it's something that you're going to have to really look at long term. So it's important. Hi, thanks for joining. It's really, really important to think about your relationship with your body. When you think about how you've treated your body, how you care for your body, what you put inside your body, whether it's through your sexual relationships, or whether it's food, or whether it's what moisturizer you put on your skin, all of that stuff. Your body is a portal for your humanity. And a lot of our wellness and our healing process is not just about how we think and how we feel, but also how we take care of our body, how we take care of our this portal that makes us human. Okay. The other thing that's really important to think about in terms of our body as well is how we allow others to project all of their stuff onto our black bodies. As black women, quite often we're fetishized. I know that I've been in relationships where I've allowed other people to fetishize me. This is before I did any therapy work or anything like that. And that's how I got my self-esteem. I allowed people to have access to my body because I didn't have any self-esteem. And because of this thing around black women being hypersexual and all the rest of it, sometimes we can allow ourselves to feed into these stereotypes and to absorb these stereotypes because that's where our self-worth is. That's where our self-worth is. So, if this book is chosen for the study circle, we will, dig a lot deeper in this. We will begin to explore what it means for us, our relationship with our bodies, why we've allowed our bodies to, we've given our bodies away to people that don't, that are not important. We've given our bodies to people that are unsafe, or maybe other people have done things to our bodies that are unsafe, which makes it very difficult for us to connect with our bodies in a safe way because our bodies have been violated. Okay, there are many things that need to be unpacked around this topic, but in this study circle you'll be given the opportunity to unpack that. Whatever feels comfortable. Maybe you don't feel comfortable sharing that stuff in a group of people. Obviously the group is a small group, it's an intimate group, it's not going to be something that's really that's too big, and it will take time for us to build up the trust and everything in the group before you may feel comfortable sharing that. If you don't feel comfortable sharing that within the group, I do offer one-to-one sessions as well, and then you'll have the opportunity there to be able to unpack and explore the impact of any violations that may have happened to you, whether it's in childhood or whether it's when you're an adult. These things hold us back from being from stepping into our confidence, from stepping into our greatness, from being the best that we can possibly be, and I think sometimes we think that these things don't have an impact on us, or it happened a long time ago, or maybe other people are saying to you, why are you still bringing up this stuff, because it happened a long time ago, and all of that kind of stuff. If it's not really been processed, okay, it can still show up. It can show up in your relationships. It can show up in how you treat your body in the now. It can show up in how your ability to be visible and show up at work. There are so many different ways that when our bodies are violated, that it can show up in other areas of your life, but you're not going to know that until you start doing the work. So if this is something that appeals to you and you're interested in joining the study circle, okay, to unpack this book, click the link in my bio, go to heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. Okay, so let me read the next section that I really found great. Okay, so each day we wake to a planet full of social, political and economic obstructions that siphon our energy and diminish our sense of self. Okay, the work is to crumble the barriers of injustice and shame levied against us so that we might have access to what we have always been. Okay, because we will, if unobstructed, inevitably grow into the purpose for which we were created. In the time of unrest, uprisings, and a longing for what is possible beyond disconnection, radical self-love is a pathway towards personal and collective transformation. It is a time we use to change the world. Evangelizing radical self-love as a transformative foundation of how we make peace with our bodies, make peace with the bodies of others, and ultimately change the world is my highest calling. Radical self-love is an engine inside you, driving you to make your calling manifest. It is the exhaustion you feel every time the whispers of self-loathing, body shame and doubt skulk through your brain. It is the contrary impulse that made you open up this book, an action driven by a force so much larger than the voice of doubt, and yet sometimes so much more difficult to hear. Okay, so, doing this book means that, you are going to give yourself the opportunity to think about what's possible, okay, and to allow yourself by telling the truth about how you feel about your body, by telling the truth about what's been put onto you externally about your body, in really getting clear about that, you can then start to do the work, okay, the internal work. Well, okay, speaking about all of these things is going to help you have a different relationship with your body. It's going to help you have a different idea, different relationship with your beauty. Okay, as black women, we're told that our hair is supposed to be a certain way, our lips are supposed to be a certain way. Other people, especially white women, they're praised for having, features that black women have. But when those same features are on black women, we're ridiculed and we're shamed for those very things. Okay, white women will go and spend thousands of pounds on getting their hips done and getting, these BBLs and do whatever. They'll have all this, spend all this money having their bodies modified and shaped. Okay, and black women will be ridiculed for the same curviness that other people will pay thousands of pounds to have. So it's about unpicking how you deal with that, how you internalize all of that about your body. What do you think about your body? How do you feel in relationships, when your body is a certain size? Do you only feel comfortable when your body's a certain size? Do you only feel comfortable when your body looks a certain way? Do you feel uncomfortable because your skin type is a certain shade? Do you feel uncomfortable when your hair's natural as opposed to, when you wear wigs or whatever it is? All of these things are an important part of understanding how you've internalized the negativity of what it means to be a human being inside a black female body. Okay, what does that mean for you? How do you deal with all of that? How do you manage it on a daily basis? Are you just kind of in your body, just kind of going about your day, or are you really present inside your body? There's a difference, because we can exist inside our bodies because we have to, because we don't have a choice. We get up, we go in the shower, we get out of the shower, we get dressed, we comb our hair, we cream our skin, we go to work, we do whatever we need to do, and then we come home. Or are you really conscious of how you feel inside your body? Are you really present inside your skin? Are you really conscious of how your body is responding to all of the different things that happen to your, throughout your day? Are you conscious of the wind against your skin? All of these are very different. There's a difference between being present to what's happening in your body and just existing inside your body. And quite often, because of the pain that we've been in, and living under this system that doesn't celebrate the black women's bodies, it might be an unconscious thing that we choose to kind of disconnect ourselves. We're not quite present in our bodies because it's not safe to be in our bodies. For various reasons, it might not be safe for us to be in our bodies. There's so many different reasons why that could be the case. But until you have an awareness and begin to kind of speak about what that means for you and how disconnected or not you feel in your body, that's the only time that you're going to be able to really change and begin to do something about it. But until you actually do that and give yourself permission to ask yourself those questions and explore it, you're not really going to be aware of what it means to actually live inside your black body. Maybe you've never really asked yourself that question before, because you're just existing, you're just getting on with it, you're keeping yourself busy because you don't really want to think about what it means to be present in your body, because it's just too painful. Sometimes it is just too painful to think about even being present in your body, and that's okay as well, because that tells me that there's trauma in your body, that there's stuff that's happened to you that make it very unsafe for you to be in your body. And these are the types of things that we will explore in the study circle. Okay, there'll be tools and there will be conversations that we'll have that will accompany this book, that will help you really understand and explore for you what it means to be inside your body, and how to do it in a way that feels safe, and how to do it in a way, over time, that feels gentle. Because what I don't want to do, obviously, is kind of re-traumatize you about anything that may have happened to you. So it'll be done in a very, very gentle way, and it'll be done in a way that is supported. Okay, that is supported. So if you're interested in joining us again, click the link in my bio, go to heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. So the last thing that I want to read is just the end of the prologue, where she talks about different questions. Okay, so she puts, radical self-love is not a destination that you were trying to get to. Okay, let me read that again. Radical self-love is not a destination you are trying to get to. It is who you already are, and it is already working tirelessly to guide your life. Okay, so this is really important, because I think sometimes with this healing process, we find it difficult to accept ourselves, because we keep thinking that we need to get to the next place. We need to get to the next place. We need to get to the this somehow euphoric place that we think that we need to get to. So we never really accept who we are in the moment. Okay, and what she's saying in this book is, or the beginning of this book, is that you already are radical self-love. You just need to unearth it. There's just a lot of things that have just been piled on top of it. Okay, those are things that have happened to you, experiences that have covered up the fact that there is the self-love already there. So what we would be doing in this process is just uncovering all of that, so that you can reconnect to that part of yourself that is love, that you can reconnect to your body in a way that feels celebratory. You can start to dress your body in a way that feels like a celebration, and you can honor the parts of your body. You can honor your sexuality, honor your right to pleasure, and to enjoy what it means to inhabit a body that is absolutely beautiful, and own and celebrate your melanin. These are all important things that we will look at, and that we will take the time to unpack gently as we read through this book. Okay, so the questions that she asked is, how can you listen to it more distinctly, more often, even over the blaring of constant body shame? So even though the system that we live under is telling us that that we need to be a certain body shape in order to be loved and accepted, okay, how can we begin to deal with the inner critic that's telling us all of these things? Okay, how can you allow it to change your relationship to your body and the world? Okay, how can that change ripple throughout the entire planet? All right, so it's really about starting from within. And when we begin to have those conversations around who we are as black women, what's happening with our relationship with our bodies, and what is our stuff and what stuff belongs to others, that is another really, really important part of this. Okay, what is the stuff that belongs to you? What is the stuff that you've internalized and that you're telling yourself? Okay, who is that inner critic? Is actually what I'm saying. Is the inner critic, is it you, or is it what's the external part of it that is part of that inner critic conversation? Is it was it your mum that was always saying things to you? Was it your mum that was always saying things to you about your body and stuff like that? Is it magazines? Do you look at certain magazines that tell you that your body is supposed to be a certain way? Are you looking at magazines that don't include people that look like you? I can't remember the last time I bought a magazine. I might occasionally buy a magazine, but if I do, you can guarantee that there has to be somebody on the cover or some stuff inside around people that look like me, because without realizing, what we ingest from magazines, what we ingest from what we're reading, what we ingest from what we're looking at on the TV, all of this stuff is going to have an impact on how we feel about living in our black female bodies. Okay, all of that is going to have an impact. And so, this study circle is going to be something, if this one is chosen, okay, then this will be an opportunity for us to really unpack a lot of that. Now, let me just say as well that, under normal circumstances with any sort of book club, type thing. Quite often, people are asked to go away, read the book, and then we come together and study it. That's kind of what happens. When I was sort of thinking about doing this book club, a few years ago when I first started it, that was generally how it worked. But for me, I wanted to take it to the next stage, because quite often, if people read the book on their own, and then come back and talk about it, there's a lot of stuff that can get missed. Okay, so what happens in the book club, in the study circle, is that we read the book together, number one, and a lot of people love that, because it just means, especially if they haven't got the book yet, some people take the time to get the book, and it's nice to have somebody else in the session actually reading the book to the whole group. So we take it in turns and we read a section of the book. We might read, one chapter, and then we share on it. We unpack it. And people have the opportunity to really think about how the text actually applies to them. And then for me as a therapist, what I tend to do is I will go into the chapter that we're reading for that particular section before the class. I'm going to be changing it around. Before the class, I will be reading the chapter, and then I'll be pulling out questions to be explored. So whoever's in the group can either select the questions to share from, or if there's stuff that's come up that I haven't written questions about, then they can share on what it means for them. And that makes for a much richer experience in terms of the study group. That's why I call it a study circle. Okay, sometimes I think when I call it a book club, people tend to think of the old way that people do it. So I wanted to change the name to a study circle, because we're actually studying the text. And it's also it's like group therapy as well, because I'll give feedback, make suggestions. There's also like a huge library as well that's attached to when you join the if you decide to join the study circle, and because sometimes what we talk about in the 90 minutes that we do, the actual study circle itself, we might not cover all of the things, and there might be topics that come up that need to be explored a bit further. So I'll always say, well, you can go to this category in the library, in the virtual library. You might find some live streams or masterclass or some journal prompts or whatever it is. There'll be lots of resources as well. So not only do we have an opportunity to study the book itself, you'll get feedback and you get live feedback from me in the session itself, and you'll also have the opportunity to follow things up in the actual virtual library itself. So you're going to be fully supported, and yes, it's going to take us longer to read the book. Sometimes it will take us, it can take us up to a year, sort of 9 months to a year to read the book, but it just means that we're going to get the full juice. Okay, we're going to get the full juice of what the book is saying. And sometimes there will be bits that we don't agree with, but there's a lot of critical thinking as well, so you'll learn how to think a lot more critically, okay, when you join the study group. Which means we're just not going to accept everything in the book that's gospel. Sometimes there'll be things in there that we agree with, sometimes there's stuff that we don't agree with. But that all leads to a healthy discussion, and it helps you to understand who you are as a person. It helps you understand what your values are. It's going to help you understand what your needs are. Okay, and that basically means that you're going to grow a lot more from each text, because not only are you going to get the an understanding of the author's perspective, but you get an understanding of who you are, and you begin to you get a really good understanding as to who you are as a person. And that's basically what this is about. This is about you exploring the relationship with yourself. So just to wrap up, I'm just going to go through some of the chapter titles, so you get more of an understanding as to what the book is about. So chapter 1 is called Making Self-Love Radical. What is self-love and what it ain't? Why the body? Why must it be radical? What have we been apologizing for? And she talks about the 3 pieces. The second chapter is about shame, guilt, and apology, then and now. So I think she talks about in there, the subheadings are all basically about body shame, about how the media, manipulates us into hating ourselves, and basically she talks more about the system. The third chapter is about building a radical self-love practice in an age of loathing. So these are all the practices and stuff that she uses in order for us to reclaim our sense of self, and to reclaim, to really learn and practice what it means, to love ourselves. And the other thing that's really good about the study group as well is that you know, we don't just read the text and talk about it. We talk about how we're going to apply it to our lives. A lot of times we get caught up in reading book after book after book after book, but we don't do the exercises. We don't do the practices. Okay. And part of this is an essential part of the study circle, that we do the practices. Okay. Because there's going to be no change. We don't learn anything or grow just from, you know, just from understanding the text. Okay, we might understand it intellectually. That doesn't mean that our body is really going to benefit from it just because we understand something intellectually. So the point of the study circle is not just to understand the text and to honor, you know, the people that write, the authors that write this stuff, but to apply it to our lives, to do the actions, to do the work, you know, to do the inner work that's important. Okay, so chapter 4, she talks about a new way ordered by love. So she's talking about a world for all bodies in a world for our bodies, speaking French and implicit bias, beating body terrorism from the inside out. So this is more about resilience, chapter 4. And then chapter 5, she talks about how to fight with love. Radical self-love transforms organisation and communities. Freedom frameworks for an unapologetic future. Fighting oppression, isms and phobias. So basically what I'm hearing from the journey of all the chapters and stuff is she helps us understand, first of all, get honest. Okay. Then after getting honest, we go inward. Okay. Look at the patterns and all the rest of it. Look at the way how, you know, how the external world, how all the isms, racism, all of that stuff impacts how we feel about ourselves. And then, you know, towards the end, she teaches us the practices that we need to be doing, and then a new way of being, basically. How can we transform what we've learned about ourselves, and the new relationship that we have with our bodies? How can we now externalize that out to our communities and those we love as well, in our families and stuff like that? So it looks like quite an interesting read. You know, what I've read so far, you know, it feels really, really nice. I've listened to quite a few of her podcasts and stuff as well, and it just looks great. It sounds really, really great. So that's it. So The Body is Not an Apology by Sonya Renee Taylor. If you would like to choose this book as part of the study circle that I'm going to be launching in October, you can click the link in my bio, go to heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. If you've got any questions about anything that I've shared today, if you know anyone that might be interested in reading this book and being part of the study circle, please share it with them. Send me a DM if you've got any questions or anything, and I will see you next time. I'm just thinking the next book that I'm probably going to choose is... gosh, I haven't decided yet. You'll have to wait. I haven't decided yet. But anyway, so thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you spending your time. And hopefully I will see you in the study circle. Again, if you've got any questions, hit me up. Let me know via my DMs or email me info@yardofgreatness.com. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you next time. All right, take care. Bye. Bye, everyone.